Today I fucked up by accidentally poisoning my roommate with horse laxatives. Obligatory edit cause this post blew up. The horse treats have been delivered to their intended recipient, who thought this was hilarious. And my roommate is doing a lot better now, though he still doesn't find the situation very funny. I tried to tell him some horse jokes to make him feel better, but he was still pretty bucking mad. Well, you know what they say, you can lead a horse to the laxative cookies, but you can't stop your roommate from eating them before you get there. This actually happened today, for once. It took a couple hours of panicking before it actually started to be funny, though my roommate may still disagree. Too long did not read. Mixed RX strength horse laxatives into no-bake cookies intended for a friend's horse. Roommate unknowingly ate some, is currently shitting like a horse. Set scene. I'm an equine vet student, living with my roommate, a forensic biology master's student. I grew up with horses, so I have lots of friends in the equine world, and my program focus means that I now get to offer a unique perspective in offering some help where I can, for non-life-threatening issues of course, and I always recommend speaking to an actual vet as well since I can only offer so much. Anyways, a friend of mine who lives nearby owns a senior horse who has recently developed bouts of bowel issues, as elderly individuals tend to do. She spoke to her vet about wanting to prevent colic. Too long did not read. A horse gets stomach ache and can't poop and then dies, so her vet prescribed an oral medication, i.e. a laxative, for her horse, to help prevent the constipation and subsequent colic. The problem is that her horse is a pretty big boy and is not a fan of taking oral medication, and even in his old age can be a formidable opponent to try to tangle with. My friend had approached me for advice, and I offered to essentially hide the medication in homemade horse treats, since it was prescribed in powdered form. Lots of horses are extremely sensitive to anything that tastes even remotely like medication, so hiding the meds in a sweet and palatable treat would be a surefire way to get them into his system when they were needed. Since I couldn't risk essentially ruining the meds by actually baking them, I settled on making no-bake apple cinnamon clusters. At this point in the story, it's important to mention a few things regarding my roommate. Firstly, he is my ex-fiancé. We are still in good terms, we're just better as friends. So he knows I love to bake, and we typically have an equal use policy when it comes to food, supplies, etc. because we never got out of the habit. Secondly, he has his own room now that we're not together anymore, and since his schedule mostly involves him studying in his room or working during the morning, and then being gone for the better part of the afternoon for his classes and lab work, he typically isn't in the apartment during the time I was doing this and I wouldn't have even known he was home. So I finished making about 50 of the poop power horse treats, and left them on a tray in the fridge to firm up. Like I said previously, I had no reason to suspect that my roommate wouldn't be out of the house, so I left to quickly go take care of some things back on campus, figuring I'd be back and have already given my friend the treats well before my roommate got done with his afternoon classes. It was about an hour later when I got a text from him. "Hey, I hope you don't mind, but I had a few of the cookies you left in fridge, and I just wanted to let you know they were super good. I miss your cooking." Cookies? Yeah, the cinnamon ones. Y'all, I panicked. I called him and asked him how many he ate, like 3, and essentially had to tell him he just ate cookies containing what is, in short, prescription horse laxatives, and that he needed to call poison control right now. Understandably he freaked out, got pissed and asked why they were even in the fridge to begin with, then hung up and called poison control. I don't even want to imagine how that conversation went. But based on the type and the amount of laxative I put in the batch, and how many cookies were made from it, the concentration is low enough that he won't have any serious effects. Aside from the cookies' intended purpose. Obviously I feel terrible because I can't even be in the apartment right now, it's so unbelievably fucking bad. But on the bright side, he'll be fine in a few hours. Healthy as a horse, you could say. He should call and schedule a colonoscopy for tomorrow. He's probably about halfway through the prep by now. By shitting like a horse, do you mean walking around town, stopping every 6 feet to lay a turd? I'm actually laughing at the thought. This was hilarious, at least he's unaffected and stable. These crackpot COVID home remedies are getting out of control. And #X200B. Just in case, that was a joke. Next time you see him, please ask him why the long face? If he complains, tell him to get off his high horse. I didn't read it. Currently shitting like a horse, stopped me in my tracks, as I'm sure it did your roommate. I bet the person at Poison Control's first thought was, these fucking people and their damned horse drugs, before realizing it wasn't another COVID snake oil victim. Oof. Glad he's alright, more or less. I think as a general policy things that look like food but aren't should be labeled as such when left in a public place. They sound good, though. Do you have a recipe? Today I fucked up by calling my friends GF, Fishy Franny. Throwaway. So my friend Tyler started seeing his girlfriend Francine about 4 months ago. 2 weeks ago, she decided to send me a friend request on FB. On her profile, I saw that she had a couple pics of her out fishing with her family. Because I'm a cringelord, I came up with the brilliant nickname, Fishy Franny. I didn't mention this to Francine or Tyler at the time, but I thought it was hilarious. Tyler hosted a small barbecue today at his house with a few of our friends. Tyler was excited to finally introduce Francine to our other friends who haven't had the chance to see her until now. At some point, Tyler and I were sitting on his couch and he asked me what I thought of Francine. I told him that she was a cool and funny girl. Then, without even thinking, I chuckled and said, "Yep, good ol' Fishy Franny." Before Tyler could respond, I turned my head and saw Francine standing behind us. Her eyes were on fire, she started swelling up with tears and she burst. This is the back and forth that followed. Francine. I can't believe this, Tyler. How could you tell him about that? Tyler. What's wrong? What are you talking about? Francine. Don't play dumb. Fishy Franny, huh? You know that I struggle with yeast infections, I can't help it. You promised you wouldn't tell anyone. Tyler. Babe, please keep your voice down. I swear I never said anything, honest. Francine. Honest my ass. What other shit are you saying behind my back? Me. Francine, I was just talking about the fact that you like fishing. Fishy Franny, get it? Francine. Huh? It was then that Francine realized that several of our friends had overheard what she said. Everyone was either staring, trying to hold back giggles, or pretending like they didn't hear anything. Her face turned bright red and she quietly said, I gotta go. She bolted out of the house crying, and it got super awkward at the barbecue after that. I decided to leave because I felt so bad about what happened. Now Tyler is pissed at me, Francine unfriended me, and I spoiled the barbecue. Me and my lame jokes. Blew it. Too long did not read. I decided to make a dad joke which resulted in my buddy's girlfriend being publicly humiliated. And the barbecue wasn't even on a summer's eve. Disappointing. You should have seen that one coming. Not necessarily that nickname would be apt, but that there was 0% chance any woman anywhere on earth would appreciate being called fishy. In fact, men too. Don't call anyone fishy unless they're a sketchy poker hustler or an actual fisherman. I don't believe this story for a second. Francine being quoted here conveniently drops more information than porn dialogue like, "Big brother. Why are you trying to have sex with me before our parents get home in just 40 minutes? You know I'm not on the pill right now. Yeast infections don't smell fishy, hint think bread. BV. Sure. Some STIs, yup. Certain periods, Yeast infections, no. This is some creative writing. That's for sure. And now you are publicly humiliating her again by using her real name and telling the whole internet she gets yeast infections? Bro, tears of joy. Anyone who reads this and knows she's dating a Tyler is going to know it's her. And they all clapped. You fucked up again by thinking anyone would believe this story. Today I fucked up by looking up the recipe for TV dinner-style Salisbury steak. 15 minutes ago. Still crying. I decided to see what the copycat recipe for the 70s version of Salisbury steak TV dinner has in it. I googled, and looked at the images of the old boxes and all hell broke loose. Here's some background. In the 1970s my mom made me TV dinners once in a while. I loved them, chicken was okay. Turkey was ace, and my favorite was Salisbury steak. I haven't eaten a TV dinner in decades. Haven't seen one either, since I moved out of the US a while ago. So I had a look at the box, and the image just brought back all these memories of driving to the grocer's, and my mother baking these things up. And she was happy not to cook from scratch and I was happy to eat it. I was like 5, and it was all so nice, and then I just started crying into a big puddle on my desk. I loved my mother, she died 9 years ago. Too long did not read. I looked at old TV dinner boxes while searching for a recipe and I thought about my mom, and I can't stop crying. Edit. Thank you all very much for the kind responses. They helped. Edit. Yesterday was a really hard thing, and I'm really grateful for all the kindness. I'm humbled by it. Thank you all. Definitely not a foo. It was a fond memory that you loved, and helped you remember your mom in a new way, and remind you just how much you loved her, and how much she meant to you. Don't ever regret those moments. They're the purest form of love, and will hit you out of nowhere. Let it out, share those memories. This world needs more positivity and love, and your mom had a lot to share it seems. Sending you so much love. Been there myself. My mom passed away 23 years ago, and while I miss her every day, same as you I am sure, certain things will come up or happen where it just hits like a ton of bricks. Heart love causes such great pain, because of such great joy. Wishing you more smiles than tears heart. This recipe is a good place to start IMHO. Substitute chicken stock for the water. I prefer the mushrooms small diced instead of sliced. I add a stalk of celery, small diced, to cook at the same time as the mushrooms. And salt the ever-loving heck out of it for that authentic out-of-the-box flavor. Damn. I'm sorry dude. That's part of real grief. It's not always crying at a funeral or stages of whatever. It's being hit by an emotional truck on a Wednesday morning out of nowhere. You'll always have those memories of her to share, welcome them as they come. Now think about chicken pot pies and the burn on the roof of your mouth when you took a bite too soon and that steaming hot gravy burned you down. What a wonderful memory. I hope I'm doing a good enough job as a mom, that my son will cry over something as trivial but to him meaningful, when he's grown up and I'm gone. Your post is a reminder that it's not about the grand gestures and expensive gifts, it's the little things that makes up the most of our lives and relationships. Your post really touched my heart. Today I fucked up by privately feeling feelings and remembering good memories. Oh God, I'm tearing up already. You didn't fuck up. Think of it as a stroll through memory lane. Today I fucked up by not just picking up the damn roach. A couple of days ago I was in my office with my husband and saw a dead roach on the floor. I hate roaches. The idea of picking up and feeling its gross body makes me want to cry and scrub my body clean. We don't have a problem with them in the house, but because of where we live there are lots that just live outside and sometimes one will get in. I couldn't stomach the idea of picking it up, so I asked my husband. He or my kids are the usual bug catchers. My husband said he would have the kids do it. I hated leaving it there and should have just sucked it up and picked it up. Fast forward to the next day. I have awful anxiety and I had been internally freaking out inside since I knew the kids hadn't picked it up yet. I just kept imagining me accidentally stepping on it or touching it somehow. Again, I should have just fought my fear and picked it up. Evening comes and husband and I go into the office to play some video games because that's where we have some of our old systems set up. The roach was between our chairs. I commented and he said he forgot to tell the kids. Silently I was dying inside, so worried I would touch it on accident. Well, it happened. I turned my chair to talk to him and my bare foot touched it. I lost my shit. I knew it. I knew I would touch it. I knew it. Like full on crying about it. My husband laughed so hard. I honestly laughed as I cried too. Husband grabbed it to toss and realized it was a dried cranberry from one of the kids' snacks. So I tormented myself over this roach for an entire day and cried when I touched a cranberry. TLR. Found a dead roach in my home office. Huge fear of roaches. No one picked it up. I had high anxiety for a whole day imaging I would accidentally touch it. I did. Turns out it was a dried cranberry all along. Step 1. Take paper towel. Step 2. Pick up roach. My most favorite roach kill I've ever had was when I was working door at a bar years ago. A roach was crawling down the outside of the building by the door frame, maybe 4 feet up. A female coworker pointed it out right as I walked outside. I pulled the wet bar towel out of my belt, rolled it up and snapped the roach in half. It was one of those kills where you know internally you are telling yourself you got lucky but you don't want to show it, so I just tucked the towel back in my belt and went back to checking IDs. Vacuum that dead cranberry up. I might have smoked too much and seen 1 or 15 too many stoner movies, that my mind went straight to roach as in the butt of joint. I have a roach story too. Our windows don't seal in my house, so roaches also come in from time to time. Some, normal, size, some huge. Like pepperoni huge. Last night as my husband and I were just getting ready to sleep, a roach came in my window and flew onto my face. Then proceeded to fly to our pillows. My husband tried to squish it, but it was on the bedding, so it didn't work. There is now an injured roach in my bedroom somewhere and I'm terrified. The real fuck up is how lazy your entire family is, or at least your husband. You have a genuine phobia, but your husband not cleaning it up is just pure laziness. My ex-husband thought my bug phobia was hilarious. He once refused to kill a spider for me and then videoed my freak out while I did it myself. I don't miss him. I offer this as sympathy. I used to have a terrifying phobia of the giant roaches, palmetto bugs in Texas that lasted into my late 30s. Went to a zoo, not Texas, visited the insect exhibit and didn't expect the roaches just around the corner. If you're the 7-year-old and her dad I ran over getting the hell out of there, I'm very sorry.